Good evening. Welcome to Love Talk. I'm Gregory Morgan, and I'm happy to be here with you this evening to share with you some of the things that I've discovered that work and don't work in relationships, and what works best, particularly in the area between men and women. It's when men and women get together and begin to have erotic sexual relationships that the survival of the species is at stake, and the survival of each individual's identity, or who they think they are, becomes threatened, comes into play. And very often people who have not spent any time in their entire life examining what their personal needs are, in other words, examining and coming to terms with their boundaries, when they get into this intense relationship called marriage and parenthood, they find themselves subconsciously acting out in ways that are either manipulative, controlling, dominating, or strategizing to get those needs fulfilled, because they have never established and maintained normal boundaries. And so I want to address this today from the point of view of mastering your own life. The workshops that I teach for men are called Honor, Integrity, and Mastery. And the reason that I've addressed those two distinctions, honor and integrity, which a lot of people have collapsed together, they think, well, it's the same thing, isn't it? No, they're not. They're quite distinct. And mastery, what's that got to do? Mastering what? Mastering, if you can master the distinction of integrity and the distinction of honor in your life, then you will have mastered your life. Now, how will you know that you've mastered your life? Well, one of the ways that I can tell that somebody has mastered their life is that, A, they don't have any complaints. Doesn't mean that they're necessarily jumping with joy all the time, but they're happy. They're happy, they're well, they're doing well, and they have many more moments of happiness and satisfaction and fulfillment that peak much higher than normal people, and they have very, very few complaints. You'll never hear these people blaming somebody else for their life or being upset and complaining about how life is. Another way you can tell masters is that the people around them are prospering, they're happy, they're doing better, their lives are moving forward. They're no longer hindered, held back, stuck, or impinged in some way. Their lives are moving forward. So masters are usually surrounded by people who are doing quite well, people who are prospering in their life, who have an abundance in their life, who have well-being in their life. Does that mean that nobody ever gets sick or doesn't have financial problems or get in conflicts or upsets with their family? No, of course not. What it means is, when I say doing well, is that when you run into an obstacle, rather than getting stopped by it, rather than blaming someone else for it, rather than making an excuse about it, rather than trying to find some way to cheat your way out of that obstacle or trick life or manipulate others, you address that obstacle as a part of your growth. You address that obstacle as a challenge that you're happy to meet. The next thing that there is for you to do in order to grow, to expand, and to master life. If your intention is to master your life, then you're going to immediately see everything that is not mastery. If you take on the distinction of integrity, then everything that is not integrity begins to show up and loom up in your face. You begin to address it. In a world where you are not concerned about having integrity, you don't care about integrity, you've never thought about integrity, no one's ever talked about it, it's just not a concern for you. Integrity, no integrity, I don't know. And most people do live that way, let's face it. Most people are living their life, they've never even considered what's integrity and what's not. In fact, some of you may even be looking it up in the dictionary right now, trying to figure out what does that word mean. But if you've never been concerned about integrity, then like the world is full of things that some of them like, some of them I don't like, most of them I don't know how to deal with. But if you take on the distinction of integrity and you actually tell yourself and others that I am going to be a man or a woman of integrity. I'm going to live my life with integrity. Whenever I have a problem or a conflict or a confrontation in my life, I'm going to ask myself, what has integrity here? What is the thing that would have the most integrity in this situation at this time? If you choose to live your life that way, then what's going to happen is that everything that is out of integrity, everything that is not integrity, will start to show up brightly. It'll start to pop up, and you'll begin to see the places in your life where there's no integrity. Maybe you have a beautiful, clean, perfect car that you keep really nice, but when you open the glove compartment, it's full of junk. You'll see, oh, there's no integrity in this. The things that have no integrity all of a sudden start being loud or very, very apparent. And the same thing with honor. If you decide to live your life as an honorable man or woman and to address the things in your life as how can I bring honor and integrity to this circumstance, to this situation, to this relationship, to this conflict in myself. You know, most of our conflicts are within us anyhow. Most of the conflicts that you see outside are reflections of something that's already going on inside, that's unresolved inside yourself. The world is acting as a mirror. So if you have unresolved questions about your worthiness, if you think that you are unlovable in some way, and many people have inherited this thought, or it's been handed down to them, or they've been conditioned to think that either through their parenting or their religion or their culture has caused them to believe at an early childhood or an early age, and they've grown up inside of a family or schooling or a religion in which people are made to feel as if they are not worthy of the greatest good, that somehow they must earn it or suffer or feel guilty about their lack of worthiness, and that they must do something strenuous and difficult and hard or punish themselves in some way so as to feel worthy. If you've adopted any of those kinds of inner thoughts, even though they may be hidden way back in your subconscious mind, or maybe they're even right there, maybe you even find yourself speaking in ways that so as to produce evidence that you are unworthy of being loved, of being cherished, of being wealthy, of being healthy, of being beautiful, of being surrounded by loving friends, of having abundance and prosperity in your life. If you feel that you're unworthy of that, then you will automatically live your life in such a way as to produce evidence for that in the outer world, because there is no stronger drive in humanity than to prove that we are right, even if being right means you're wrong, or that we are congruent, consistent with, that what our truest inner belief is, there's evidence for in the outside world. That is our strongest drive, is to when we feel inconsistent with the outside world is when we feel uncomfortable. So it's ironic to think that people who are born joyous, full of love, innocent, shining, bright, that's why we all love a baby, ends up in the adult stages of their life feeling bicho de bad bar, feeling bad, feeling terrible, blaming the world, complaining about their circumstances, and then having plenty of proof around in their life because their deepest inner belief is incongruent with the actual truth. You, me, all of us, produce evidence our life with our deepest inner belief. In order to find your way out of that mess, the mess of feeling unworthy, unloved, not powerful, not believable, creating on an ongoing basis messes in your life that are constantly in the process of needing to be addressed and cleaned up. In order to shift from that side of the equation that I call being at effect, in other words, you're at the effect of causes that you blame or claim are outside yourself because you find yourself using the word because. You say, this is this way because, and then you point at something that's outside yourself. You never say, I am the cause. You always say, I am the effect. This is the victim position, or the position of being at effect. if you want to switch from that position to the position that I call being at cause, in other words, causing your life. In other words, the things that come up in your life, you are asking yourself, how did I cause that? What's my part in this? What could I do to cause that to be different? How could I cause a different result? In other words, living at cause, never blaming others. You're never looking at the world and saying, this happened because of something outside myself. No, you're saying, I caused this even if I don't understand how just yet. You're willing to stand for that you are the source and the cause, not just of all the bad things in your life, but all the good things too. Instead of saying, well, some good luck or God or somebody else was great and gave me this, that I had something to do with it. I caused it because I'm worthy of it, because I am able to. I am response-able. I'm able to respond to the things in life. It's what response-able means, responsible. I'm responsible for my life because I'm able to respond to the conflicts in life in a way that I cause them to shift in my favor. Another way you could call this, so we've called this effect, being at effect, or being at cause, or you could call this being a victim or being a warrior. I call it being a warrior because there's a real fight that goes on. And the fight that a warrior has is never with the outside. A real warrior knows that all the weaknesses are within himself. The only battle is to overcome those weaknesses or those mistakes. Thank you.